In this episode of the RV Small Talk podcast, we were thinking along the lines of some things that you might want to do while you're out and about in your travels and you're camping. And so I reached out to a friend of mine, Mary G. Zell, and we used to teach way back in the day in middle school together. And she was the librarian, and so she was a go-to resource on all kinds of things. But she herself is a camper, a bit more hardcore than me. And she goes out for bird watching. And I think it's time to learn about that draw, about the birds, and maybe we can inspire a few of us to go out there and enjoy that activity as well. So with no further ado, welcome to the RV Small Talk podcast, where we talk about lightweight trailers, truck campers, and the people, places, and adventures that go right along with them. We are your hosts from Princess Craft RV. I am Clint.
And I am Lindsay. I know, but I was scared because there wasn't PJ here, so I didn't want to mess it up. Let's try that again.
I am Clint.
And I don't think I've ever watched a bird for more than 10 seconds.
Ooh, we're going to fix that.
I know.
If you would like to see show notes for this episode or other episodes that we have had in the past or that we will record in the future, head on over to rvsmalltalk.com. Find us on social media. Just look up RV Small Talk. You will find us. And we are on YouTube at RV Small Talk Podcast. So you have the places to find us talking about the things.
Wait, I can listen to future podcasts? Ones that haven't been recorded yet?
In the future, you'll be able to listen to future past podcasts.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like, you had found a wormhole and you were using it specifically for this podcast.
Oh, speaking through the annals of time. So there it is. There it is. I would like to mention that we do have two really cool rallies coming up. So check them out. If you're into trailers at all, I would suggest you look into the Texas Tiny Trailer Rally. That has a website. Just look it up. Texas Tiny Trailer Rally. It is a free rally. All you do is pay for your campsite with the RV park. You don't have to pay for the rally itself. So we're going to have events and all kinds of stuff. Check out TexasTinyTrailerRally.com. If you're into truck campers, we have Texas Truck Camper Rally. Same deal. Just look it up and join us. You don't even have to have a tiny trailer or a truck camper. You just have to think they're neat. That's it.
It's true. It doesn't matter what size it is, where you bought it from, how old it is. Come join us. We have live music, beer and wine tasting, camper tours, tech help, and a lot of hanging out with some cool people.
Campfires. It's a beautiful place because it's in Bandera, which is supposedly they bill themselves as the cowboy capital of the world. And yet I mostly see Harleys.
It's true. There's a lot of motorcycles in Bandera, but it's a free rally. So check it out. TexasTinyTrailerRally.com or TexasTruckCamperRally.com.
And I would be remiss to leave out that Lance Campers is a huge sponsor every single year for these rallies. They have helped us to pull it off for, I don't know, the better part of 10 years.
It's true.
Lance Campers, they make incredibly well-engineered, well-designed campers. They started off in the truck camper business, which means that they built a very sturdy, rough and tumble unit, and then they decided, hey, let's design some that have wheels, and they've done a bang up job with their trailers as well through the years. So Lindsay, do you have thoughts on Lance?
I do. You know, I think one of the first things I learned about Lance is they're generational campers because they last so long. They're so well built that you are going to pass it on to your kids. And I think that's really cool in the world of RVs where everything just kind of is shaky and breaks. Lance has really stood the test of time, and they have so many floor plans. They literally have something for everybody. So I enjoy the Lance brand. I think the 1985 is my favorite. What's yours?
You know, what is their truck camper that fits my half-ton pickup? It's a
650?
650.
Yeah.
I have hauled that on my half-ton pickup.
Really?
And it was delightful.
You are a truck camper type of guy, aren't you?
Yeah. That's it. Now, let's wrap it up on the Lance piece. Lance, thank you so much. We love you and we appreciate what you do for us, but we need to stop making Mary G feel uncomfortable because she doesn't know anything about RVs. So Mary G, as I just segued into you not really doing much with RVs, we're going to get into the bird watching and birding. You have camped extensively across, I think, the whole nation. Is that correct?
It's true. It started when we were first married. I was still in grad school. We were living on a shoestring, and we finally could afford a car. And when that occurred, we had freedom to go places.
The world was your oyster.
Yeah, we pretty much threw a tent in the back and a couple sleeping bags and a couple Ensolite pads, and we headed out, and it was wonderful.
Did you camp before that?
Like when you were a kid, did you ever go camping? No. Okay.
My mother was very much a motel kind of woman. No, I had never camped until I got to college. And of course, as a geology major, we took a lot of field trips.
Sure.
And so camping was the order of the day. And the first time I camped, I didn't have a real sleeping bag, and it was Wisconsin in the autumn, and I froze. So
And that didn't ruin it for you.
got myself a real sleeping bag, and from then on in, I was in. But we like to do things like hike and look at the rocks and look at the wildlife. And
Right. Now, I had forgotten that, because I knew way back when that you started off with a geology major background and all that. What's Mark's background?
he's a geologist as well.
Okay, that's right.
In fact, he did it longer than I did. He retired from it.
Okay, so when you're camping and doing these trips, you're not just looking up at the birds, you're looking down at the ground.
Wow.
Everywhere.
Ooh, there's a bird. Ooh, there's a rock.
Yeah. Yes. In fact, one time, people I was with were getting really frustrated. I happened to be somewhere where the fungi were all in bloom, and they were gorgeous. And I'm down there taking pictures. And
Right.
they're going, the birds are up there.
Is that something that it might be a silly question, but is that something that geologists do? Do you just like walk on a trail and go, ooh, look at that rock?
Isn't it neat? Don't you think this makes my collection complete?
Is that something geologists do?
There are a lot that collect. I don't have a collection. I did a lot in my master's. I was a paleontologist, so I did a lot with fossils.
Yeah.
And I did not collect them. So, a lot of the places that I go, you're not supposed to pick up
Right.
samples.
Right.
Something like state parks and national monuments.
Right.
You're supposed to leave that stuff there. So I enjoy it in place.
You look
But,
at it.
Yeah, I look at it and say, oh, that's cool.
Well, I just had to explain to my 7-year-old son the other day that a paleontologist was a real job and like what they do. He's sold. He was like, that's a job? Yeah, that's a job.
But he kind of fits because his name is Hawk,
It's true.
and he should go into geology and paleontology.
He's got to do something nature related.
I think so.
There you go.
Or a superhero. We're between the two
How
right
old
now.
is he?
He's 7.
Oh, fun.
Yes, he's very fun.
Yeah, he's got some creativity that oozes out in every moment.
So camping has mostly been tent camping?
And still, right?
Camping is exclusively tent camping.
Always? Have you
because
ever
that's-
stayed in a trailer?
No,
Really?
never.
Cabin?
Cool.
Don't think so.
Have you ever camped without a tent? Like, have you
Mark
ever?
has,
Really?
but he's more hardcore. he goes up to Grand Canyon of the Gunnison in Colorado
Yes.
and does winter camping under a tarp.
Yes.
And I'm like,
What?
no.
See, Gunnison area is where I go in the summertime with my family to go fly fishing and all that because they're good at it and I can go like this.
Well, he has seen lynx and all sorts of cool animals.
Oh,
there.
wow.
Wow.
In fact, the first time we saw a bobcat, I'm going, it's a bobcat. He's going, that's not a bobcat. And I'm looking at him like,
That's a
that is
bobcat.
a bobcat. But yeah,
Wow.
he had seen a lynx, so he was confusing the two.
Sure.
I wouldn't be able to tell the
I
difference.
mean, in the snow, I only know it's a bobcat if it's where I am in Texas.
right?
That's a good clue.
Yeah.
Well, in birding, that's one of the first rules. Where are you and when are you? Because then you know what to expect.
Okay, so we're going to have to, she's hitting on like multiple places on my
I know.
question
This is
list,
so interesting. Inverting, that's what it's called?
Birding, bird watching.
Oh, I thought you said the rule was called inverting. And I was like, oh. All right. That's the first rule in birding.
Yes.
Got it.
When the bird is upside down.
Invert the
It's
bird.
much more challenging. And they often are, as a matter of fact.
How did,
no.
I mean, you started off basically in college doing the geology piece and then the paleontology piece and forgetting that you don't actually have a sleeping bag in cold environments and all that. How did it circle around to being bird watching? When did that enter the picture?
Bird watching entered the picture when I was getting my master's in geology because my roommate was a biologist. And we went out birding together. And it was actually pretty funny because we were in Kansas. She was from the East Coast. I was from Chicago. We didn't know what the birds were that were in front of us. So I had the guidebook and she's leading me and we see this phenomenal bird and she's going, Mary G, look up this.
Well, please say it was a turkey vulture.
And I look it up and I'm like, no, that's not it. She goes, okay, look up this. And I look it up and I said, no, that's not it. She goes, look up a cuckoo. I said, Gail, that's a bird in a clock. And she goes, look up the dang bird, Mary G. And I did, and that's what it was. It was a yellow-billed cuckoo.
No kidding.
So
I had no cuckoo's a real bird.
No,
yeah, see,
I thought it was just in a clock.
Because city girl from Chicago, a cuckoo was something in a clock, so.
Or a crazy person.
Yeah,
you're a cuckoo.
Exactly.
Oh wow.
Okay. All right. Now, did you actually have to? Was there all the exclamation points? Was it that loud, or were you quietly having this transaction?
We were quietly having this transaction, although it wouldn't really have mattered because cuckoos are fearless.
Okay.
They have on occasion scared me out of my skin when I didn't know they were there, and they let loose, and I levitated off the ground.
Are they super loud?
They are very loud. They can be.
And do they make the clock sound? The cuckoo? I mean, are they named like a Bob White, where it sounds like they're saying Bob White?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
But I mean, the hard thing is that birds can easily have 20 to 50 different calls.
Oh, yeah.
And so if I know one, I can't tell you if it also makes this sound. Because I did not learn sounds when I learned birds, which puts me at a distinct disadvantage these days. So I rely on technology to help me with that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta see the bird.
So the pros, they're echolocating, if you will. They're using their ears as much as their eyes.
There are people who bird by ear.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that's a phenomenal concept to me because oftentimes, like with a sparrow, you get a chip note. They all sound alike to me, and to those people who know, oh, that's a Savannah sparrow. What?
That's incredible.
Yeah, there are people who do bird that way. I kid a friend of mine that her ears should be registered with the FBI.
Wow.
That's awesome. So do you plan trips just for bird watching?
I have.
How do you go about doing that?
When we moved to Texas, I wasn't really seriously into the birds, and I kept hearing that there were a lot of cool birds in the valley.
Yes, I've heard that too.
Yes, well, as my husband says, birds in the valley come in technicolor. They are phenomenally bright. It's the northernmost extension of the range of a lot of birds that are in Central and South America. So you go to the valley and you see things that you'd never see up here.
So there's a different bunch of birds that migrate from the south on up versus the north on down?
Well, migration is different. There's a range that a bird has, and then there's migration. Migration is something totally different. In the spring, in fact, migration technically has started. Birds from Central and South America pass through our area because we are on one of the main flyways. And so we get to see birds in the next month or so that we would never see at other times of the year. So that's really cool because they don't breed here or
they're just passing through.
Right. Exactly. They're the migrants.
We're like a road stop. We're like a Buc-ee's.
So
exactly. So it's really cool to go out during migration because you see some fun stuff. But then there are birds that migrate short distances, like from Central Texas to Southern Texas.
Right.
And then there are those that do the 5,000 miles at a shot.
Something really epic.
Right. Like an Arctic tern. So, yeah, there's and everything in between. And there are birds that don't really migrate at all. They just like where they are and they have enough food all year round and life is good.
So there's a little bit of a timing and location.
Yes. So when we decided to go to the valley, I started doing my homework and seeing, what is it likely we're going to see and where can we go to see it? And so we planned a trip going to various state parks, and various parks will do birding walks that are led by volunteers who know what they're doing and know what the birds are in that location. And so we did a lot of that. And sometimes you go to chase a bird and you don't find it, and that's fine too, because, the darn little things fly. It's so irritating. So
it's true. Do you ever feel like disappointed or sad when you go out to see a bird, or are you?
If I've gone to a lot of effort to chase it, then yes. But I'm pretty fortunate. Most of the time when I put a lot of effort into chasing one, we have found the
bird shows up for you.
Right.
Okay, so can you explain to me what you do when you see a bird? How long do you sit there and watch it?
That's dictated by the bird.
But if the bird stayed there for like 2 hours, would you just stare at it for 2 hours?
No.
Okay.
I personally would not.
I'm sure there's some who would.
I'm sure there
I
are
don't
some
really
who would.
understand how bird watching works.
Well, there are a lot of different ways to bird watch. Many photographers get into bird watching sort of accidentally because they see these things and they want to know more about them. Then there are those like me who can't be bothered to take a camera along and just want the experience.
Just want to look at it.
Watch its behavior because that's what's fun for me.
Okay.
What about Mark? Is he
Mark
same?
got into it through me, and for a while he was pretty into it, and now he's sort of saying, yeah, you go on that one by yourself. So now it's mostly me. But he is a very good photographer, and especially when I was getting started, he would take a picture of a bird for me so that I could go home and key it out, because I didn't have enough knowledge to know what kind of sparrow I was looking at.
That sounds like teamwork.
So yeah, he's an excellent spotter. If I could choose one person to go with me when I'm chasing a bird, it'd be him, because he'll say, it's right over there. And I'm like, where?
Have you considered bribing him?
Yeah. Oh, yes. He's bribable. This is a good thing. So, yeah. But there are many different ways to bird watch. I did the casual bird watching thing for many, many years, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Wonder what that is.
Sure. Just around your residence, parks, local hikes.
And now I go to a lot more effort. I go on guided bird walks. I've taken several classes. In fact, I'm just about to finish the Master Birder classes through Travis Audubon.
Master Birder?
Yeah, don't go there.
Okay.
That is not a shout out.
Yeah, I can't wait for somebody to throw that in my face. What do you know? What do you mean you don't know what that bird is? You're a master birder. No.
All right.
That is so cool. So you mentioned the valley. What are some other cool places that you've explored or where cool birds can be seen?
Here in Central Texas, I feel like I'm ideally situated because I can go east and hit High Island and Galveston and the Bolivar Peninsula. High Island is like Mecca in the birding world.
Really?
Because there are two ways for birds to migrate to our area from South America. They can either go circumgulf and follow a land route, or they can go transgulf and cross the water. Now, when they do that, they're in for an 18-hour shift of nonstop flying. And if some sudden cold front comes, they can be downed and die in the ocean. So migration is a very costly thing for a bird. So there has to be a strong incentive to do it. But anyway, oftentimes High Island is one of the first spots of land that they see.
So they come down and
they drop.
Wow.
And so High Island is Mecca in spring migration. So you go there and you see all these beautifully colored warblers, and it's
and they're
wonderful.
extra chill because they're tired.
Exactly. They're like, I'm not running away.
Take as many pictures as you want, bud.
Start passing out honey roasted peanuts.
Yeah. So there's High Island to the east. To the west, and so that's from me, it's about 3 hours.
That's easy access.
Yes. 3 hours to the west, and I can be at a state park called South Llano River.
Yes.
And that is another fabulous place to bird. 5 or 6 hours, and I can be down in the valley. Mm-hmm. And then I've got all these parks nearby. So, and there are state parks, county parks that are all good for birding.
Do you use those pretty extensively?
I do.
State parks, even the CCC parks?
I even use Creekside here in Round Rock.
Right.
Not that I want to advertise that, because it's this little gem that not many people know about. I only discovered it because I was driving down 620 one day, and I saw people walking behind the businesses. I'm like, what is back there? So I go to look, and there's a park there with a trail that goes like a mile in.
The trails in Round Rock they're fun because they're connected, but they're also tucked away a little bit. Mm-hmm. You kind of have to know, but once you know.
So I've even seen an owl out at Creekside. So
love it.
That was cool.
Owls are so cool.
Oh gosh, I love owls.
Yeah, and then Granger Lake to the north.
Yes.
Is a fabulous place to bird. I've seen short-eared owls out there. I've seen lots of meadowlarks and sparrows, and This year I saw a mountain plover there, which was a lifer for me. That's what we call it when we haven't seen it before. It's a lifer.
A lifer?
Mm-hmm.
A mountain
plover.
Plover. What does a mountain plover look like?
Very dingy. Not very exciting. Not exciting at all.
My kind of bird.
Yeah, but what was really neat, I saw a video of them, like, a flock of 20 or 30 and landing in an agricultural field. And the photographer is saying, yeah, I thought when they landed, I'd get a really good look. And I'm watching this video and they disappear.
Right.
They're so well camouflaged.
Right.
And I'm looking going, if I had not seen that, I would not have believed it.
If the dirt looks like it's moving, that's them.
Exactly.
Wow.
So, yeah. It was
Incredible. So, I lost my train of thought. See, that's where I have to edit the video and the audio both. So if you've been here birding for a while, how are you doing on seeing all the Texas birds?
Oh, not even close.
Not even close.
There are approximately 11,000 bird species in the world.
In Texas? Oh,
in the world.
Okay.
In Texas, I don't have that number at my fingertips. But
probably a lot.
Most people I know who are good birders have more than 700. And so I have been wanting 700 for the longest time.
That's what you're looking for.
700 species.
Does that mean that you joined the 700 club?
So how many are you at?
Well, it's funny. I was celebrating earlier because I hit 700. But then eBird did a reclassification and took off 6 of my lifers saying they were exotics and wouldn't count. And I'm like, wait a minute here.
Oh, no.
You got robbed.
So I'm back at 693.
You're the Pluto of the birding world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Exotics? What do you...
meaning an exotic can be a number of things. It could be a bird that's been released in an area where you wouldn't normally expect to find it.
So it doesn't count?
Like the random parrots you see around?
Well, that depends. If someone releases a couple and they become a viable population, then yes, they are countable.
Wow.
If someone releases one and you happen to see it and that's pretty strange, it's an exotic and it doesn't count. So that's basically how it works.
I'm gonna write a strongly worded email.
You know what? I took a picture of the screen when it showed back. 700.
There you go. Nobody will know.
So I was there, but
she doesn't
not
always
anymore.
have her camera, but
not
for that
anymore.
occasion.
Yes. Whipped out the phone and said, "Look at this."
So
and then, less than a week later, they were gone.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sad for you.
It's just a number. I just love doing it.
You're going to get back to 700.
Eventually.
In no time. Next week, probably.
Do you actually prefer a type of place? You mentioned several places in very different areas of Texas.
Yes.
Do you have a preference of a place to go in Texas or beyond?
I'm up for just about anything. In fact, on any random day, I'll say, "You want to go for a walk?" My husband will say yes, thinking we're going to walk the neighborhood. And I'm like, "Oh, no. No, we're going to go somewhere fun." And he's like, "Oh, geez, you're going to tell me we're going to drive to walk somewhere?" And I say yes.
Yes.
So, because there are certain tucked away spots that are always good.
Right. And the walk is different.
Yes. And some of them are amazing. There's one in Wells Branch that's pretty much in the center of an industrialized area. Mm-hmm. And when I first read about this place, I went, there's no way. But at 2 times a year, that is the place to be because there's a pond there. And during migration, the birds drop for some water and some food in the trees.
Is there like a local watch group? Like, here they come? Notify the people who care?
Do you have a special alarm?
There are. You can be on alerts, but the main thing is something called eBird. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Just now.
It's a huge global database started by the Cornell Ornithology Lab and Audubon. And at first it was just North America. And the idea is when you go somewhere, you say where you are and you make note of what you see, and it all goes into the database. And through that, we have learned so many things. So it's called citizen science. It's a way for your average Joe Blow to make a difference. I actually
saw that term for the first time on Wikipedia a few hours ago when I was preparing my questions.
But it's cool.
Citizen science.
In fact, that's how I know my list and know if I've seen something or not is because of eBird. So they had a way where you could transfer all the birds you had seen prior to eBird starting, which I think was like 2002, into eBird. And then from then on, so I can look up a bird and say, I've seen it 4 times. These are the places and times where I saw it, which is really cool.
That
That's
is
your
nifty.
record for you.
Right. So
Nice.
that is all my data at this point. When I first started, I bought my field guide and the golden guide to birds and would write down where I saw it very carefully. And now it's all eBird.
But I can understand how that would be super helpful too, because it's not like just one group of people can go around and see all the
Exactly.
birds, so that way you can track.
Right. You can see
the bird
movements.
was here, and now all of a sudden we're seeing a bunch of them here, and
because it's migration, there's a huge focus now on lights out and when it's dark, because the number one thing that kills birds is building strikes.
Flying into windows?
Yes, windows and buildings, and the lights distract them when they're migrating. So there's a huge lights out campaign going on during migration.
So I actually have a question about that kind of.
it's on the front right here.
Oh, is it?
Page
somewhere.
1.
What? Yeah. Other than lights out, which makes a lot of sense. What other have you noticed any changes in birds' behaviors or anything as far as human activities, urban sprawl, things like that? How is it different now?
There are huge changes because of climate. 2 major things. The number one factor leading to extinction of a species is habitat loss.
Yeah.
And every time we pave a road or, turn something into an ag field or, we're taking away whatever used to live there. So it makes sense. Since 1970, I think we've lost 30% of all birds. 1970.
Worldwide?
Yes.
Just U.S.?
Worldwide.
Ooh.
Wow.
So, it's staggering. And there are things that no one will ever see again.
Right.
So
There's things that we don't even know we lost.
But there are things
is
you
true.
can do just as a single person. You can you could put out a shallow pan of water for birds. You could feed them. You can keep your cats indoors because after building strikes, feral cats are the number 2 cause.
Right.
of
Really?
death of
They're
birds.
the cleanup
Done.
crew.
Yes.
My cat does not go outside. I
Mine
promise.
does not either. I love cats, but mine does not go outside.
Nope.
And there are a lot of things we can do. But I joined Travis Audubon when I started getting serious about birds because they lead walks all over the place. So you can just show up at a beginner walk and borrow a pair of binoculars and say, show me some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And they will. So anyway.
So this is, to me, I like this because my family does really like going on hikes and all, but I don't have a background with birds and all this. I'm getting information and all that, but it also seems extremely low impact and extremely low cost to entry. The barrier to entry on birding is lower than pretty much any other hobby out there.
Right. And during COVID, a lot of people started birding because it was something you could do outdoors and not have to wear a mask.
Right.
So I have a brother who lives in Minnesota. He said it saved his sanity every single day he went outside to bird. So
what are the general rules of birding? So you say you're walking down a trail. Is there a certain way to like walk, or
Is it one foot in front of the other, or is it a side shuffle?
Are you allowed to talk? Do you point when you see a bird? Is there a special signal?
If you're looking for waterfowl, do you have to duck walk?
waddling helps.
Waddling, yeah.
Or is bird watching really just walking around till you find a bird and then
It's
look
just
at it?
walking around. Usually we try to be fairly quiet if we're trying to look for a bird because you'll
Leave the
scare
kids
them
at
away.
home. Got it?
No, actually, I love seeing
Just
kids
give 'em
on
peanut
bird
butter.
walks. They handle binoculars just fine too, and it's a great way to introduce them to nature, I think.
And make them shh.
Yeah, because
You're a librarian, though. You're used to that.
Nah, I never did much shushing.
No?
I can attest to that.
You're not a
A
shusher?
noisy library is a good library. It's been well used.
Oh my gosh, that's
my-
the best quote I've ever heard.
My classroom one year was right across the hall from her library, and it was the most active, joyful place on the campus.
Oh, thank you for
Even
saying
more than the cafeteria.
But that's always the most joyous.
And you would think because there's food.
There's food.
But no, that was from memory. That was fantastic.
I'll pay you later.
No need to. I got
awesome.
that year across the hall from you.
That's awesome. All right, back to birding.
So yes, very low cost to enter. I would say there's an app you can put on your phone that will help you called Merlin. Mm-hmm. And Merlin is my friend too, because I'll turn it on when I'm hearing something and not knowing what I'm hearing, and it'll give me options and just off the sonogram.
Wow.
Yes.
So you just hold up your
I
phone?
hold up my phone and I say, "Sing away, Sonny." And it's magic. Now,
That's
you have to
incredible
use it in
technology.
conjunction with some knowledge, because
Right.
I've been walking in the woods when it's told me here's a duck. So, it has some limitations.
It's like, no, that's just my feet.
But, and it wasn't a wood duck, which you'd expect in the woods. But anyway, Merlin is a great help. I have the eBird app on my phone too. So all I have to do is turn it on. It pinpoints my location for me and says, "Oh, you're here." And
Maybe look for these things.
tracks what time I started, what time I finished, and give me a list of possible suspects.
Oh man.
Yes, it's excellent.
Technology is crazy.
Technology is great. Of course, if you're in an area where you have no cell reception, it can be a little iffy. And if that's the case, I just keep a list on my phone and transfer it when I get back.
You record noises and then...
I don't usually record. I did once fairly recently because I was after a woodcock. And they make a very distinctive sound. And we went to a place called Commons Ford Park, southwest Boston, and got there at just the right time. And I'm sitting there waiting, and I heard it. And I went, "Mark, is that it?" And he's like, "I think so." Well, Merlin tells me it's a mockingbird. And I'm like, "That's not a mockingbird." So I actually recorded it, and Merlin was eventually convinced that yes, that was a woodcock. But it was so cool because it makes this ping, ping.
I was going to ask for a demonstration, and I didn't think she was going to do it, but she just offered it right on up.
That was wonderful.
So mockingbirds. What's your take on them?
Oh, I love mockingbirds. Mockingbirds are mimics, and what they will normally do is mimic every other bird around them or every bird they've ever heard.
That seems annoying to a bird watcher.
Well, it's funny because the tip off is that they usually do between 3 and 6 repetitions and then they change. So you just wait for the change. But it was funny. I was on a walk once and the leader of the walk is going, "Yep, now it's a goldfinch. Now it's a house sparrow. Now it's a..." She just called them all off as the mockingbird was going.
Do they have their own unique call, or is it all con artist?
That's a good question, Clint.
The only ones I know they are mimicking, but I don't know if they have.
And it's the state bird of Texas. We just have a con artist bird as our state bird.
We do.
But he's such a delightful bird. And it's fun to watch them because if you ever watch a mockingbird at the top of the tree, they'll go sing, 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 sing. And then they'll stop to leap up, catch a bug, come back to the same perch and just start sing, sing, sing again. You're like, wow, that's cool.
They're kind of little clowns.
Yeah,
They're not
so
con
fun.
artists. They just have multiple personality disorder.
And they're borrowing everyone else's personality.
And they can also multitask. I love these birds.
Bird appropriation.
It is not
Exactly.
bird appropriation. Okay, I want to hear what's your bucket list bird or birds
That I have not seen.
or that you've seen?
Well, I have a favorite bird.
Okay.
Which is pretty funny because most birders don't. But I think the scissor-tailed flycatcher
Oh yeah,
is
they're
the coolest bird
growing
ever.
up. They amazed me. I always saw them at my grandparents' ranch.
Just from an engineering perspective, you look at that bird and you say, that should not be able to fly because the tail is twice as long as the body and it forks. And when you see it take off, you'd think, oh, that's going to be a really cumbersome flyer. No, it's a flycatcher. It just darts and dips. And the male has this pinkish blush on his breast. And I just think it's the most fabulous.
I grew up loving them and barn swallows, the blue ones.
Yes.
I love them because they were also at the ranch just building their nest right underneath the eave, and they're beautiful, and they're flycatchers as well, just all over.
Yeah, they're swallows, but they are very aerodynamic.
Yes.
My husband likes them because they fly so well. And he'll say, "Oh, she pulled a few G's there," and he's watching it go.
Right.
It's so fun.
I loved them. I was, like I said, I haven't really done any bird watching, but growing up as a kid, I built a lot of plastic models of all kinds of things.
Sure.
And my parents would get me bird plastic models as well. So that's where I found the love for the barn swallow and the oriole and all that was because I was building them and hanging them on my wall. So yeah, I know, nerd. I know.
Nerd alert.
I know.
So what is a bird that is on your bucket list that you haven't seen that you would just love to see?
I have actually made 2 trips to Central America, and I was there at the wrong time to see the bird that I really wanted to see, which is a resplendent quetzal. It is the national bird of Guatemala. It is also seen in Costa Rica and other places down there. Has a fabulously long emerald green tail, and
a resplendent
quetzal. We're going to need to put a picture of this in the show notes.
It's beautiful.
It is.
Look to the show notes, everybody.
It has jewel tone colors, and it is just gorgeous. Oh, and by the way, the males are almost always the pretty ones in the bird world, and the females are rather drab. Do you know why that is?
Because they attract the females.
That's part of it. That's one half.
Okay. What else you got?
The other half is that the females are usually the ones on the nest and need to be camouflaged.
That makes a lot of sense.
The male wants
smart
to be
females
flaunting everything he's got.
Super flamboyant.
Females.
Yeah.
And the female wants to be very subdued. So now there are birds that don't have sexual dimorphism where the male looks just like the female. And there are also birds where the female is the beautiful one and the male is the drab one, and that's the case where the male incubates the eggs.
Do we have any of those in Texas?
Sure.
What do we got?
The phalaropes. Wilson's phalarope. You can see those at Hornsby Bend.
Okay.
Hornsby Bend is a great place to bird. I mean, you think about it and you go, I'm going to
This might completely inform the way I camp from now on, because I choose for other reasons. Like my next trip to Davis Mountains is specifically...
Great place to bird.
Well, I'm looking for stars. I wasn't even thinking birds. I was thinking I looked at the lunar calendar. When is there no moon? Because I want my kids' minds to be blown.
Yes, by the number of stars and being able to see the Milky Way.
Right. They have no concept. I keep on telling them.
Well, you can't see it in a city, so
yeah,
it doesn't make any sense when you're 5.
No, I got all sorts of lifers when we went to the Davis Mountains. They even have a hummingbird festival out there in August, which I want to see if I can get to.
Yeah,
festivals tend to be expensive, so I don't tend to do many festivals, but because you pay for each field trip that you go on and you pay to go to the festival.
Right.
You have lodging and all this other stuff.
And if part of what you really like is the peace and solitude aspect, then you're at a festival.
Right. Then you don't want a festival. So.
Yeah.
But there are many ways to approach birding. There are people who have more money than time, and they travel all over the world just trying to see what they can see, which is cool too.
Sure.
I traveled a while just for fun, but at that time I wasn't really birding, and if you get a birding trip, it's usually 3 times the price of a regular trip.
Okay.
Because you're paying for the guides and their expertise.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Makes sense. It does. Yeah. So do you pair anything else up with your birding, like geocaching or anything like that?
I do not. Usually I'm out there for the hike, and the birds are an extra.
Okay.
So... there are places that I go just to bird, like at Hornsby Bend, the biosolids plant. Do you know that's the #1 place to bird in Travis County? There are more birds at Hornsby Bend. Did you say
biosolids plant?
Biosolids, that's where they make dillo dirt.
And that's the #1 place?
Yes, for birds.
Amazing.
There are more species of birds found at Hornsby Bend than any place in Travis County.
Amazing.
Yeah.
This-
Second best place to bird in Travis County is Commons Ford.
Commons Ford is in
Southwest of Austin.
yeah.
Down where you used to live.
What am I trying to think of? The road that it's off of. I have a family member who literally lives on that road, and we used to go to Commons Ford all the time.
That's
I
cool.
can't think of what it's called. Anyway.
They have totally
Nice try.
restored the prairie there. It's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, I haven't been in years.
Because it was just, I guess, cattle ranch and non-native grasses
Right.
and things, and they went in and took all that out and started planting native grasses. So it's pretty amazing
Cool.
now.
What would you encourage people to do if after listening to this podcast, they start considering the birds a little bit more? What would you encourage them to do? Just you mentioned a couple things early on. What can we do
Like
to help the
first
birds?
steps.
Keep the cat inside. What
Keep
else?
the cat inside, turn the lights off during migration times. If you are so inclined, put out a shallow dish of water and keep it clean. You can try and attract hummingbirds with a hummingbird feeder. You can put out thistle seeds for the finches. I have lesser goldfinches in my yard all year long because they come for the thistle seeds. You can plant some native plants that they tend to like. I have a red yucca that the hummingbirds love and a Turk's cap. So
And this is
there's
at your house.
Yeah.
Which is in the
city.
I would say
Yes.
I mean it's not like
in the
downtown, but it's in the city.
Yes, I have
In
a
Round Rock.
postage size backyard, but within that backyard, we've designed a little fountain so they would have running water.
Mm-hmm.
Made it shallow because you can't put like a 5-gallon bucket out there
Yeah.
and drown.
Oh, that explains some things.
Clint.
So you can feed them. I would say go on a bird walk. Go on a walk with somebody who knows the birds in that area. And it's a real eye opener because somebody who doesn't know what they're looking for can look around and say, I don't see anything. And they can go with someone who can see things and say, look right over there. Do you see that flash of yellow?
All right,
It's a
so
goldfinch.
I'm gonna create an event, and you're about to get really busy,
Yeah, you say someone who knows
Mary
about
G,
birds.
So I don't think so.
and
Oh,
you're
no.
about to be a master bird watcher. And,
No, I am a neophyte compared to most people.
but you
I know.
could get someone interested and started, and that's all
yeah.
it takes, right?
In fact, the reason I actually did the master birder class was so that I could help on beginner bird walks because I get off on somebody getting excited over a cardinal or a blue jay.
Right.
You know, everybody else goes, "Oh my God, it's a blue jay." I'm like, "Yeah, but look at the colors on the thing."
I
So-
think
When
that's
my local
awesome.
my blue jay in the backyard, he comes around at a certain time every year, and he's out off the back corner of my property. I'm guessing it's the same blue jay. He's there, and I see him during a certain time of year, and he's big. I'm like, that's a big blue bird,
They're-
and
they're
I
bigger
can
than
watch him.
cardinals.
I can totally watch him for quite a while.
They are very clever. In
Yeah.
fact, they can imitate a red-shouldered hawk or a red-tailed hawk amazingly well, and they will let loose with that scream so that every other bird in the backyard
Yes.
runs in terror, and then they walk up and feed at the feeders. They're
Yes.
very smart. So
I
are
am
crows, by
I
the
love
way.
them.
I'm so sad that my mom isn't here because she has a big backyard full of
Natives.
it's all wild.
Yeah.
And they have
Nice.
so many bird feeders out there. And that's one of my parents' favorite thing to do is to sit on the porch in the morning with their coffee and just watch all the birds. I mean, it's all
Nice.
different colors, and she's going to be jealous she missed this podcast.
Oh, I don't have that, but I have had people come and sit in my living room and look out the window and say, I could watch this all day.
Right.
I do.
Right. Absolutely. So you mentioned when you first arrived a trip that may or may not go down. and so let's talk about that, but also let's talk about what you see for this year, your potential plans. So for starting with the trip that's currently scheduled,
Okay.
may or may not happen.
So we were about to leave on a long cart trip out to Death Valley, tent camping all along the way. And I looked at the weather data and discovered that it was going to be 30 degrees at night. And I said, oh, no, 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 no. So I put in like 20 other sets of dates. And I think what we've come up with is sometime in May, we will do that one because, yes, Death Valley will be a little hotter, but I will be able to sleep at night because it'll be more like 50 degrees rather than 30 degrees because 30 degrees is no fun. I've done it. I don't care to repeat it.
You've proved yourself. And
I'm pretty good at the roughing it thing, but there are limits.
Yes.
Sure.
I like warmth.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Any other ideas, whether they've solidified as plans or not for 2023?
Oh, I always have ideas. In fact, the first thought that occurred to me when the trip got postponed was, oh, cool. Now I can go somewhere between now and then. And so I'm really tempted for a trip to the valley because there's a bird that's been hanging out at Benson Rio Grande State Park for months now, and it would be a lifer for me. And I keep hearing it calling, but then I would say, do I really want to drive 10 hours to see that bird?
So all you like is a driver.
Yes.
So we can arrange.
What bird is it?
It is a hook-billed kite. They are a raptor with a very hooked bill, and they look sort of hawk-like when they fly. But raptors are just amazing.
Well, I'll tell you what, I have a niece who's got her learner's permit. You just sit back and relax.
She needs some practice.
She's very responsible, so it won't be a very fast trip down. Very good. This has been fun. This has been a worthwhile reach out and find you. Look you up and catch up again. Thank you for coming out.
Absolutely.
And doing this.
Love to talk about birds.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to research your other hobbies so I can have you on for another reason here soon.
Card making 101.
I think I want to stare at a bird for more than 10 seconds now.
But in real life, not on a screen.
No, in real life for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those.
Just watch them. They're fascinating.
I know.
I'll never forget the first time I saw a towhee. I was in a blind at a state park, and I see this bird put his talons into the ground and hop back. And I'm like he's what pulling the Sam Hill was that? And he kept doing it,
Was he digging?
Scrape, hop back. Scrape, hop back. And I'm like, what the heck? Yeah, he was trying to get some insects up. And apparently that is typical towhee behavior, but I had never seen it before. And I'm just going, what is wrong with that bird?
I am feeling inspired to do some bird watching.
Oh, yeah.
And the state parks, some of them have designated bird watching areas. And like you said, blinds. I think that they have one at Inks Lake. And
I know they have them at Pedernales.
Uh-huh.
I know they have them at other places too. But one thing at the state parks is every once in a while they will have a ranger or someone lead a bird hike. And that's a great way to start out because somebody can point out things to you.
Love it. Love it.
Very cool.
Thank you again. This has been cool. I hope it's been fun for you as well. So I pulled you out of your schedule. Everybody, thank you again for joining us. I hope you were inspired to look at the birds, to maybe hike it differently, maybe plan a little bit differently, do something. Just like we said, the barrier to entry is low, and yet the fulfillment factor could be amazing going out there and really connecting with nature. So I hope this got your ideas going. Don't forget to look up the Texas Tiny Trailer Rally and the Texas Truck Camper Rally. I will say Bandera has some fantastic areas that I imagine the birds are residing in or passing through. So join us out there. And thank you again to Lance Camper for sponsoring this podcast, for making so many things possible from this podcast episode that you're listening to, but also the trailer rally, the truck camper rally. They always do help us out. Lindsay, you got anything else?
They make camping dreams come true.
That needed like a jingle behind it, I think.
They make camping dreams come true.
Very nice. Very nice. And Mary G, I can't thank you enough for answering my call and coming away. All right, everybody, we will see you in the next episode of the RV Small Talk podcast, and maybe we'll have PJ with us, and maybe we'll just make her do it by herself.
Bye.